All right, thank you, Raina. And yes, Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you all are feeling relaxed and ready for whatever 2022 brings. It'll bring normalcy and fun, exciting, non-lockdown related stuff, hopefully, fingers crossed. So to start off the new year, and in keeping in that spirit, I have come up with a sort of a series of demos and classes that are related to sort of getting out and seeing the world, if virtually, if nothing else. So there's a series of demos that we have this month that are related to kind of like a sort of a world tour. And we're going to just sort of work our way around the world and do a series of postcardy type images in watercolor that are really in the style of kind of Art Nouveau. And if you've never heard of Art Nouveau, that's a sort of an art movement that took place in the late 1800s, early 1900s, really swept across most of Europe and the rest of the world by proxy. And there's a lot of really interesting artists that sort of initiated it and carried it forward, and we're still seeing the ripples of the Art Nouveau movement today. It's a really popular style, and I just want to kind of introduce you to a few of the key points of what Art Nouveau is. So I've got a few pictures here that I'm going to start with. As far as supplies go, let's do that first before we get into the slides, just so that everybody, if you're missing a few things, you can scramble around while I show you these images here. So we're going to be working in watercolor or gouache. If you have gouache, feel free to use that, but most people are familiar with watercolor, and that's going to primarily be what we're going to use. I am actually going to use this set of paints here. So the colors that I have are going to be much broader than the I think it's 6 or 8 colors that I have on this list here. So basically we're kind of using the kitchen sink, so to speak, to get a lot of our colors, because as you'll see with Art Nouveau, there's a lot of real subtlety in color. So, getting sort of a lot of secondary and tertiary colors involved is going to be sort of par for the course. So I've got this set of 24 colors here. That is an Artist Loft sort of entry-level set. I think they were like 10 or 12 bucks. Really good, overall pretty good quality for what you're paying for them. And it gives you a ton of choices as far as your colors, which is really what we're after. And these 4 brushes that I have in this picture, I believe, are exactly the ones that I'm going to be using. One of them is a फ़ilbert. There's some rounds. I've also got some flats and a really kind of fine point round brush as well. So those will be the main brushes that we use. Paper, I'll show you that in a minute, but it's another Artist Loft pad of paper. That's also really affordable and works great because I used it the last few demos, and it really holds up well. It takes the water well, and doesn't start to disintegrate as soon as you start putting paint and water on it. And then what else we got? We got a palette that you're going to need to mix your paints, masking tape to tape your paper down, and then a container for your water. So that's pretty much the basics of it. So let's slip over here to these Art Nouveau slides here, and let's just go through some of these. All right, so these are just kind of, let's pause it here. If I can pause it, where is it? There it is. Oh, well, I won't pause it. So these are a bunch of images sort of going by. This is Alphonse Mucha, M-U-C-H-A, these 2 images here. And he's sort of like one of the more famous ones. And with Art Nouveau, you can kind of see that the color palette is really, this is a black and white print of it, but by Aubrey Beardsley. But it's a kind of a very flat image. There's not a lot of depth to it, not a lot of space. It's also very decorative and kind of pattern oriented. That was Gustav Klimt. This is Henri Toulouse-Lautrec, which is a French artist who kind of elevated Art Nouveau into the fine art realm. And then here we are back to Musha. And they were often used in posters. And that's kind of the theme that we're going to take. We're going to do this world tour and convert them into kind of Art Nouveau travel posters with this idea behind it. I mean, we're not going to have enough time to get in and do all the details and do all the sort of subtle color variations. We're going to do our best, but with an hour, we really got to kind of pick our battles, so to speak. So that is sort of a few, I think 5 or 6 images there of kind of the Art Nouveau style. And some of the travel posters that I've pulled up, our first stop is going to be in Paris. So we're going to do one from Paris. And this is the kind of idea that I'm talking about. These are more contemporary ones that I just sort of pulled off the internet. This is going to be the place that we're actually going to paint from a picture that I took when I was lucky enough to have gone to Paris. So it's going to be of Notre Dame, and the color choices we're going to make are going to be kind of a conglomeration of some of the different images that you'll see in a minute. So it's a bit of what I want to do today is take something that you're actually looking at, like, you know, maybe you're looking over the River Seine in Paris, and you want to do something a little bit simpler, and you want to do something that's a little bit more graphic and flat and kind of, you know, just sort of, it's sort of a distillation of all the colors and patterns and all that you're experiencing, and just simplifying everything. So that is kind of the idea with these. So this is just a sort of a few little teasers to get you started. And I've got, when I, you know, go over to my little overhead projector, you're going to be able to see, I'm going to have some images off to the side, and they are going to, and there's going to be the picture and then 2 of the kind of the inspirational choices that we'll be working with. So let's get right to it. And as
we do have a few questions about materials.
I was just going to mention, if you have questions, put them in the chat and we'll get to them. Yeah, what question do you have?
So I believe it was Nikki would like to know if they can use acrylics, if that's okay.
Acrylics would actually work. I was thinking about that, and I was like, this could really work with anything. So if you've got acrylics, if that's all you've got, go for it. Just be aware that I'm going to be doing the demonstration in watercolor, so you'll have to adapt. But yes, it'll work. It'll work well.
And Sherry wants to know if she can use watercolor pencils, and how would that differ?
Yeah, that'll be a little bit different. If you've got brushes and you can kind of wet and activate the pencils, that might be helpful. But if you're just going to do it as a pencil without adding any water, that'll be a completely different process. But the idea will be similar in terms of, you know, taking a fairly complicated image and just trying to make it simple and kind of in the Art Nouveau style. So gotcha. Yeah, that would work as well.
And Diane, aka Ed's iPad.
Yes, Diane.
Yes.
Diane. Right. Okay, I got it.
She wants to know if a watercolor paint has a funny smell to it. Does that mean it's gone bad?
It can. I mean, the stuff that's carrying watercolor, that's going to be the stuff that goes bad. It's like gum arabic, which is something that is in like Coca-Cola and, you know, a lot of other food things. My guess is it's probably something else that they've added to it. And if they're really old, who knows? I mean, who knows what's going on? But I've experienced that. It's generally still safe to use. But if, you know, if it smells really bad and, you know, you don't want that in your house, don't use it because it will go everywhere. But it still should be usable.
And then Allie wants to know if you'll be changing mediums next month and doing a different.
Yes, next month we will be working with acrylics and working in a more abstract way. So it's a little teaser. I don't want to give away too much, but yes, acrylics next month.
Awesome.
Awesome.
I think that's it for now.
Okay, cool. So let's go to it. So here's our setup. The one at the top is the photograph, and that was taken from in the process of being renovated Notre Dame. And we're going to use sort of some different elements of these two. So this is one that, this is the image we're going to use, but we're going to simplify it and do the coloration kind of these two. So that's the idea here. So what I've done is I have created a drawing here that you can sort of see, but I want to get everybody sort of on the same page with this. And what I've done is I've created a moon. So I'm going to put the moon in that middle one in here. And I've created the horizon line of our picture up here. And then of course the tower and the rest of the cityscape. So I just want to go over initially, if you've got a ruler, that might be helpful, but it's not necessary. I do want to put the drawing in here and be pretty diligent about it, because we are going to be using kind of a standard pattern here for mine. If you have your own and you want to try and do your own and kind of go for it on your own, you're absolutely welcome to. But if you're following along and you want to and to do the image that we're doing, I'm going to be pretty precise about where we put everything. So
is there any way we can hold that up at all? It's just
Hold
the
what up?
line, the painting, the
Oh, yeah,
lines are
I'm
saying they
gonna
can't
go
really
over it.
see them.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
okay.
go over it so you can see it, so everybody
Gotcha.
can see it clear.
Awesome.
It's pretty light right now, but I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go over it so everybody can see it. So if you've got your ruler, have that ready. So up here's the moon. I'll just do that first, and I'll just try and do this freehand. And I'll put my glasses on so I don't draw something else. So this is a green. Oops, where'd I go? Yep, there it went. It'll come back. So I've got a green oil-based pencil, colored pencil. You're welcome to use like a number 2 pencil, or just sort of anything else. Even a pen. I would probably steer away from a pen because it could potentially leak into the. Come on back. It's the new year. Don't start off like this. It could potentially leak into it a little bit more. So just a regular pencil should be fine. There we go. We're back. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this a little bit more, hopefully boldly, so you can see it. I cheated, and I took a little circle, like a salt shaker or whatever, and did a circle, and then just made the moon kind of out of that.
So we've got some people asking, are they working off of the 2 kind of postcard pictures? Are they working off of the real life?
Well, it's sort of it's a little bit of this, because I've got the moon in there, but it's mostly going to be this. So I'm basically doing this one here, the photograph, and putting the moon up in the right-hand corner. So I'm doing the one element right now that's not in that photograph, which is on the top. So that's what we're doing. This is a little bit different in that I'm kind of piecing it together, and I really want to show people how to be able to kind of mix and match things. I like the color scheme in a lot of these, but I want to use my picture because it's something that I've done. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So now I'm just taking the ruler. If you don't have a ruler, don't worry about it, but I'm just doing it just because it's easy to do. And I'm going to do the horizon line now. So all the way across. And if you're confused as to what you're doing, just follow the lines that I'm making here, and you'll be perfectly fine. So now I'm going to work my way to the tower. So I got a little dot here up here, just to sort of like that's my point that I want it to end up at right there. And I'm going all the way through the horizon line down to about 1/3 of the way up from the bottom. So that's the tower. And this is obviously a simplified version of Notre Dame. So there's our tower. And now I'm going to do the rest of the church. So now I'm doing the roof, which is basically a straight line right across, sort of on that bottom third there. and then here. So if you want to look at this up here, this is, I'm actually drawing this fairly faithfully. So you can sort of follow along there. And then I'm just going to do the roof line that comes right through the steeple or the spire or the chapel or whatever they call it. Spire, yes. So there's that. There we go. I'll give everybody a chance to sort of follow along here as best they can. So now I'm going to do this other roof line, which is connected right at this junction. You leave a little bit of space here because we got a little bit of a tower. There's actually another tower kind of jutting out over here, which I'm going to add. Like that. And then we'll do this one. This could be the most complicated travel poster ever created, but I am simplifying it for us in the interest of time and energy. Okay. And now doing this last little bit, and then we'll get to the river, and then we'll be ready to go into the painting part. Anybody else using a ruler? Rulers, by the way, are not cheating. Rulers are oftentimes absolutely necessary. There we go. Didn't quite get that one perfect, but that's all right. If you've ever been to Paris, the river is just completely confined in concrete the whole way through the main part of the city. And it's kind of weird because, I mean, you can see fish swimming around in there and, you know, it looks really kind of unnatural, but it is a river and it seems to be in fairly good shape. All right, so the river goes all the way up. It's very geometric right now, which is fine. We're going to make it a little bit loosey-goosey as we go along here. And if you've got any erasing to do, like I kind of didn't quite follow the lines, these little erasers are great. They're kind of like mechanical pencils, but they have an eraser in them. If you've ever seen them, you know, at office supply stores or whatever, whenever I'm at the office supply store, I'll just grab a couple because I go through them like crazy. All right, so this is the basic outline here. Got the church, got the river, got the horizon line, and got the moon. All right, does everybody feel pretty good about that? Just wanted to get some basic lines established. We'll add some more detail as we go along, but that's the main focus of what we're going to go for with this. So what I'm going to do now is, I like my picture all right, but I actually like this kind of the night scene in this middle poster a little bit. So I wanted to kind of change it a little bit. So I'm going to be doing the color scheme in the sky with this. So it's going to be kind of red at the horizon, and then it's going to be that kind of sort of dark turquoise, I guess, kind of like almost a greenish blue up in the top. And then we're going to leave the moon white. So with that in mind, I'm going to start with the red here. And it's kind of an orangish red. That one of the really distinct things about a lot of these Art Nouveau style stuff is the colors are really kind of pastel-y and soft. There's not a lot of real hard edge stuff in it. So watercolor is really good for that. So I thought it was a good fit for what we're going to do here. So I am going to start with this, and I'm not going to do a lot of wet into wet, but I am going to do it in the sky. So I'm just going to start by taking a little bit of water, just not a ton, and I'm using a nice kind of this is probably like a size 10 or 12 filbert brush, and it gives me a lot of coverage. And I'm going to just sort of wet the horizon line a little bit. Not a lot. I don't want a lot of water standing on this painting as I progress through, because I'm going to be going from area to area. And if you've got too much water, it'll kind of bleed into each other. And that oftentimes does not lend itself to what we're trying to do here. So I'm just going to keep it damp, but not soaking wet, no puddles. So just sort of dipping the end of the brush in there and thinking, okay, I only want to wet it where that red is going to be. So as you can see on the picture here in the middle, that one, it's just kind of a strip that's, you know, maybe 1/10 of the whole page. All right. So, and like I said, it was kind of an orangish red. So I'm going to start with some orange, and this orange is called orange. That's all they tell me. So that's all I've got to go on. And it is, you know, sort of a red and yellow. If you don't have an orange, you can kind of, you know, mix one up yourself. And I'm just going to lay this in with the idea that I'm probably going to mix a little bit of red in here. But I just want to start kind of right along the horizon and get that really bright color. And you can see it's not bleeding much at all because I don't have a lot of water. And that's really kind of what I want. And it's pretty saturated. And by saturated, I mean, there's a lot of pigment here. So it's not, you know, I'm not thinning it out a ton. I am thinning it out, but I mean, because that's just the nature of watercolor. As soon as you add water to it, you're lessening the amount of pigment in there. But I want to kind of load it up a little bit. All right, so something like that. I think I'm going to get it. If you look at that one over there, there's a little bit of clouds. I'm not going to contend with those. And I think what I'll do here is I'll just add the red in just kind of various spots. And so the red I'm going to use is kind of this darker one. I think it's called primary red cadmium hue in our thing. So like, you know, anything that's like sort of a stoplight red is going to do the trick. So let's see, I'll just do a little bit right along the edge just to change it up a little bit. This is all of these colors in Art Nouveau, or they're all about sort of gradual transitions. There's no real you know, really abrupt things, unless you're going from one object to another. Like this is going to be a different color. I'm just trying to make a little sort of subtle turn in colors right along the horizon. There we go. And I'll just take a little water and maybe just kind of work this edge together there. Maybe put a little bit more orange on here. Get it a little bit darker, a little bit more intense. All right. That's looking pretty Twilight-esque to me. All right, so now I want to go up here. So this is a pretty fairly rapid transition, but it is a transition nonetheless. And it's kind of this greenish blue. And I think I'm going to try, I know if you've followed along here, my fear of phthalo blue is a pretty prominent theme, but I'm going to use that. And I'm going to pre-wet it up top. So I'm going to get a bigger brush here this time because I'm going to be doing a bigger amount of space. You know, much of getting comfortable doing art is knowing what materials to use when. So I got a big space. I'm going to use a big brush. And I'm just going to go around the moon because I do not want the moon to be blue. I want the moon to be white and bright. Even though it'll have a little green halo around it. There we go. I may even use this brush for the application of the color. Okay. So now I'm going to need more of this, I can tell already. So it's called primary phthalocyanine blue is the official color. Let's put a little bit more in there. And I'm actually looking for kind of a nice, here we go. That's what I want. So here's a phthalocyanine green. So this is just a green that's mixed with this. So this is just going to give me a little bit of a tinge of green in it. I'm not going to hopefully not overdo it, but I'll just put it right over here. Just put that there. And I'm just going to try and create a nice transition here. Got this all saturated, so I might as well use this. So I'm going to put this real heavy blue in here first, knowing, of course, that I am going to add some of that green in. Going for the night sky look here, kind of twilight. The moon has just come up over Paris. And we want that sort of dusky. So starting with the base color, it's cyan blue. I think this color scared me because of its name. It's cyanine. It sounds like cyanide. Like, oh, I'm painting with poison. I don't really know what's in here, but I don't think it's that kind of cyanine or cyanide. All right. So just lay in a little bit more here. Just try to get a nice even coat on. Still using the smaller one because I chickened out more than anything. And going around the moon ever so carefully. And you can see here why I did that drawing fairly precisely in the beginning. It's because they want these shapes to sort of be pretty firm. You just gotta sort of slowly go along the edge. It's called, sort of like when you're painting your house, you're kind of running a bead. You get like a nice, you're painting the trim of your house and you're right along the edge and you got it and you're in the zone. It's kind of what we're trying for here. Just keep that edge nice and solid. Okay, there we go. It's going to be a little bit more, a lot of these Art Nouveau posters were done with printmaking, like screen prints. So they're very smooth, a lot of the colors. I'm going to not try and be super precise with that, simply because it would drive us crazy, because watercolor is really not wired that way. It's a little bit more fluid, obviously. All right, I'm going to go a little bit lighter right on the edge there because I do want to add some more of this green down here. So just kind of a little bit more water, a little less pigment, right, when it comes up against it. There we go. All right, so now let's try some of that green. I'm just going to take a little bit of the blue, really loading it up, add some of that green in it. And if you don't have like phthalocyanine green, just use another kind of bright green. Yeah, there we go. And now all I'm doing is I'm just kind of layering the paint to give it a little bit more depth and a little bit more vibrancy. Yeah, that looks pretty good. It's a nice color if you can sort of, sort of go with the illusion of, there's probably not a color like that in much that you'll see in nature. All right, so now I'm just gonna add a little bit of water here and just try and kind of blend this down. A little transition here, kind of reactivating the water a little bit. So now I'm just gonna go right along this edge here, probably right over a little bit of the orange, giving a little bit of a binding effect. So it's sort of a little bit of the orange and blue, green overlap. A little bit of continuity. There we go. All right, nice bright moon, got a nice warm. I could probably intensify this a little bit more. Actually, I may do that right now while I've got it all out. I didn't even use this big one for paint anyway. I think I'll go a little bit more red down there. I will open this up a little. I'm just wetting this a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Now I'll take some of this red. More pigment, less water. There we go. There we go. And now just use a little bit of the water to kind of let it pull down into here. All right, that's a little better. Okay, sky, done. And we're right at our halfway point, so this is not bad. All right, so the next bit is going to get a little, tricky because we have to do a lot of simplifying in here. And I've got all of the city over here and a lot of stuff that I haven't even put in yet. So I'm going to stick with stuff that I know. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a blue in here for the water. And just sort of maybe put a little hint of the moonlight there. I'm going to do a different blue just to break it up a little bit. So I'm going to do like more of an ultramarine blue or cobalt blue. So if you've got either of those colors, those will work really nice. So ultramarine blue. I'm going to use, I think I'm using ultramarine. Yeah, this is ultramarine. So I'm going to pre-wet it. It's got a little bit of blue paint on it, but that's totally fine because it's all going to be blue in a minute. I'm just sort of pre-wetting. It's really important on these kind of very stylized images to keep that water where you want it. Thus, the use of those green outlines. So we kind of know where we are. We don't lose track of things. There we go. Anybody you got any issues or problems or questions or anything out there while we're blocking this particular area in?
No, I think everybody's just busy painting.
All right. Good, good, good. Such a diligent group. Anybody have like make more art in the new year as one of their resolutions? I do. Had a very unproductive year overall. And that's going to change no matter what. All right. So now a nice, I think I'll actually throw a little bit of red, give it sort of a slightly purple tinge. So I'll take some of this red that I use for the sky, just to kind of make the color a little bit more complicated. There's a little purple here that if a little bit gets in there, that's fine with me. I'm not going to sweat that too much. I'm just going to make it slightly different. There we go. So again, this is ultramarine blue, French ultramarine blue, appropriately enough, and a tiny, tiny bit of red, some sort of primary red. But again, you can experiment with this. The idea here is to just, to sort of try and be slightly inventive. There we go. With these really saturated areas that I'm painting, I'm running out of paint pretty quickly. So I'm using a fair amount of pigment as I'm moving along here. There we go. So I'm sort of taking that middle poster again as kind of the inspiration for the water too. The water was slightly off. It's kind of it's not quite as dramatic a leap as I think I'm making, but I just wanted to see what it would look like if I switched up the blue a little bit more. But it's kind of it's a nice dark, rich blue. There we go. Okay. There we go. I'll just come down here. Being very careful to keep the river out of the church. You don't want it. Notre Dame's got enough problems as it is without us flooding it. So we're going to keep the blue out. There we go. All right. Now I'll just go right along this edge here. So this is, I mean, this is something you could do, like, if you're like at the site, if you're, painting at Notre Dame, or, if you're in your backyard or whatever, and you want to just kind of work in a different style other than trying to be more representational or realistic. This is kind of a fun way to, one, figure out the main big shapes of a picture, like with all this geometry that I did in the kind of the initial green outline. And then just kind of play with color relationships. How am I going to make this look like, a particular place without being overly descriptive? There's a lot of ways to kind of approach drawing. I'm just going to sort of hint at the idea that there's maybe some moonlight right here. Can do a little blotting if I want to. And if it turns out that I don't like that, I can always come back and get rid of it, but we'll just play with it as an idea and see how it holds up. All right, now got the river, got the sky. I think, yeah, it's a little bit, the water's a little dirty, but it'll be fine. I could put a little of that other blue in there. Oh, well, we'll keep it there. All right, so the next thing I kind of liked purple of the church in the bottom one. So that's kind of what I was thinking. It is kind of it's sort of fitting with the nighttime scene, even though that's more of a day scene at the bottom. So I think I'm going to go with purple for the church, and then some of the rooftops and different areas of the city itself are going to be kind of similar to this. But I think I'm going to make this a little bit more red, sort of, because we've got this red here. So maybe some of that will be sort of glinting off the tops. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to block all of this in with kind of a warmer, a really warm purple. And then this is going to be a little bit darker purple. And this is the one part that I'm not entirely sure about. It kind of was going back and forth. I did a couple tests on it, and I haven't really decided how I want to do it. So I'm just going to make a decision here. So I'm going to take this purple. This is a purple that is in this set, and it's called Permanent Violet. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to mix this actually down here. I want to keep it separate. So this is the purple, and then I'm going to take some of this red here, and this red is a little bit more, it's a little lighter, and I think that one is called, and that was the primary red, cadmium hue. So this one is, let me see if I can get it right. Which one did I put down there? I think this was primary red cadmium hue that I'm using. So it's a little bit lighter than the alizarin crimson, which is the darker one, which is right here. And I've been using that. So I just want to make a purple, but I want it to be fairly bright. So I'm taking purple as kind of my base color, and I'm adding a fair amount of red to it. So something like this. So kind of a reddish purple, sort of in between purple and red. And I'm going to do it very, very lightly, meaning not a lot of pigment, mostly just water. One, because I want it to spread around pretty easily. And two, I'm going to come in later with some darker highlights in here. Oh, I just did it over where I want to put those trees. Oh, well, actually I can blot that out. I have a plan here. Plan was to put some of these trees in right here. So I'll just blot that out. So if you're following along, just sort of keep the area right along the river there. Keep that empty for the time being. Or if you're doing your own, do whatever you want. But I am going to be following this little plan that I had up here. So right along the river, I'm going to keep it some goop on there. How are we doing? 245. Right. There we go. So this is the idea, is this color is sort of the rooftops of Paris, catching some of the moonlight. So that's my thought here. I'm going to, yeah, I think I'll just leave it like that. Stuff in there, or as we like to call it in the art world, smudges that I don't know where they come from. It's a technical term. All right, there we go. Put that over there. So you can see it sort of treads that color-wise, it treads between purple and red. All right, so these are going to be, this is going to be a bank of trees. This is going to be a bank of trees right here. So I'm keeping that open. The rest of it, and I think I'll actually do a little bit like that. And a little bit like that. So if you're looking at the top one there, you can kind of see the trees, especially on this bank here. There's like a nice bank of trees that I'll block in there in a minute. All right, now I want to block in the big church tower. And I'm going to go more purple with that. And I may actually start with just a little bit of this color that I did for all in here. Maybe just right along the tower in spots. I picked up a little bit of blue, but that's fine because it's going to get purple anyway. And this will just be right along the fringe. Again, sort of catching a little bit of light. Maybe a little bit on here as well, on the roof. Like so. All right, I think that's probably good for now for that. We'll put a little bit more. Looks like it needs a little bit more intensity over here. I'll just put a little bit more in there. There we go. All right. Now let's go here. So I'm going to take this kind of root reddish purple and go much more purple with it. This is crazy purple, but I still want some red in there. It's just going to be more intense, with the idea that I'm kind of matching that color. Sort of. It's in the ballpark anyway. All right, so let's just go for it. Again, we're stylizing things and making things simpler. So in essence, it's easier to paint than if you're trying to do an exact replica of Notre Dame, which would take about probably as long as it took to build Notre Dame, because it is incredibly ornate. All that Gothic architecture. I think it's the Gothic era. So I'm just this purple. Kind of looks moonlit, just from a sort of a basic color scheme. We're going to be kind of modifying a lot of this, this color that I'm putting down. I just want to get the base coats down. There we go. Let's do this nice and dark. I am eventually going to be making a darker version of this color, because it is in the foreground. I really want it to stand out a little bit. Get out of here. There you go. There we go. So this is sort of catching some of that moonlight. That's the idea there. Now I want to do the big tower. And maybe just keep the little fringe of that a little bit lighter, so it's catching some of that sunlight, as moonlight, secondary sunlight. Running a little bit of a bead. Letting some of that water kind of pick it up and distribute it a little bit. There we go. All right. Still pretty dark. I want to make this a little bit darker. but still with the hint of some of the warmth of the moonlight. Just adding a little bit more depth to it. Maybe keeping a few spots of the white of the paper, or at least the whiter bits of the paper open. So it gives it a little bit of the sense of light to it. All right. Now I'm going to let this dry. I want to get back to that part. So I'm going to switch gears and I'm going to put all these trees in here. And I'm going to use that phthalo green that I had originally set out for the sky. Clean my brush pretty well. Yeah, I think that'll be good. Maybe I'll throw in a little bit of yellow to this. So I'm going to take some of this cadmium yellow here just to lighten it up a little bit, brighten it up. So here's all the trees along the banks of the River Seine. So a little bit more of the phthalo green, a little bit more of the yellow, cadmium yellow to be precise. So obviously simplifying, and really this is more of an excuse to kind of break up the color a little bit along this edge. Another nice thing that's going on with this design is you got the river kind of working your way into it, so it gives it a little bit of sense of the space, not too much, but enough to kind of make it look like we're kind of looking down the river a little bit. So here's the other bank of trees on the other side of the river. On the left bank, I forget. Anybody knows, they can blurt it out in the chat. Is that the left bank? So this would be the side that has, no, this is the side where the Louvre is on. I forget. So here's the green on that side. There we go. All right, so we now have basically all of our color relationships established. From this point on, it's really going to be about enhancing things. So some things that I could do, I'd get my smaller brush. Let's just work with this green since I've already started it and it's kind of open and ready. I would maybe take some of this blue, that dark cyan blue, phthalo blue, maybe put a little bit of raw umber in it, sort of make it a dark blue and sort of give it the hint of some of the shadows under the tree there. It's kind of creating a little sense of depth to it, just sort of adding a hint of realism, but not so much that it kind of overwhelms the nice simple design we got. So next week we'll be doing something similar, but obviously we'll have moved on in our world tours. We'll do a safari one, so it'll go to Africa, and it'll probably be more based on animals, like zebras or elephants or rhinos or something like that. I think there is an elephant in the notes for next week's class. Oh, that's too much brown. Sometimes you just don't get the color that you want. There we go. All right, do the same thing over here. There we go. And that's the kind of stuff that we'll use for embellishments. This one right here, I want to do this one. I got a few minutes left. I'm going to darken this up. I want to make some of these purples a little bit darker. So I'm just going to take this basic purple here that I've got, throw some of that blue in there, throw a little bit more of that blue in there. So we're really mixing up kind of a darker purple. So leaning more on the blue end of things. Blue is obviously darker than red. So something like this. So this is what you would do for the rest of the time. If you look at that, if you look at the photograph that we're using as kind of our basis for this, there's a lot of dark areas and light areas. I mean, obviously we've kind of changed the time of day for this one for color reasons. So you can kind of maybe add a little, details down here, like little hints of the ornate spires, something like that across there. Really go to town with that, or just keep it really simple. Maybe keep a window or two open. Like I'll just leave one right here. So it really allows you, I mean, if you look at sort of all of these images that you'll find of these kind of Art Nouveau illustrations and posters and designs, some of them are much more intricate and some of them are much more basic. It's really kind of how you want to go with it. I've sort of broken this one up a little bit with some of the darker areas. Let's try it. I think I got a few minutes left. Maybe we can get a quick look at what people did. It goes so fast. An hour is nothing. I'll just do this one right here. So giving it the sense that it's kind of nighttime. It's a little darker, a lot of cooler colors here. I mean, all the stuff up here, I would just be adding like little, here's an earlier version that I did of the same thing. Just doing little kind of little hints of, individual buildings and things like that. Didn't really get time to do too much of that tonight with that part. But again, I don't even know if it needs it. So it's really kind of up to you to determine how far you want to go with it. Almost. Yeah, it looks better. Having it nice and dark against there really pulls it forward as well. I'm going to use my bigger brush. Some of that purple, some of that blue. There we go. Use the right brush for the right job. All right, who has got a Paris travel poster that they would like to show for people? There we go. So this is a much more abstract, a much different approach than a lot of the stuff I've done, but I thought this would be a good way to sort of, do something a little bit different, get us out of the house, keep us off the streets. Well, at least the streets of American cities, and see what we come up with. There we go. All right. Yeah, that looks all right. I would probably add a little bit darker bit over here, just to sort of, this is a little bit kind of incongruous to what's going on over here. But like I said, any of these details, you can just kind of add to it. So who would like to volunteer to show what they've got. All right, Sarah, nice, very nice. I really like that really dark blue river. That looks great. You really kind of pushed it there. Oh yeah, nice, excellent. All right, that looks good. Your sky looks really, your sky is like a little bit cloudier, which I like. It's kind of like a little bit more grayish blue. Lori, yeah, looks great. Awesome. What we got here for Amy. Oh, nice. Look at that red sky. Awesome. That looks really good. Oops, that one's sideways. Alejandra. Turn it the other way there for us. Oh, whoa, whoa. That's around the world in one day right there. Just went all the way around. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, you sort of stuck to the shapes a little bit more. That looks great. Oh, nice, nice. For Julie. Yeah, that sort of your time of day is a little bit later. It's just a little hint of the red along on the horizon. It looks great, and it's sort of fused with the blue a little bit more, which is great. Yeah, Jennifer. Oh, nice, very nice, Jennifer. It looks great. That's a slightly different blue up in the sky, and I really like it. It's not like that phthalo. It's a little bit different. It looks really nice, or at least in my screen it does. All right, Diane. Diane, you're not Ed's iPad anymore. You're actually Diane. That's great. Oh, good. And you put some of, see, that's what I'm talking about. If you look at the church on hers, like some of those details, you can get a little darker, like almost black, sort of put some of the big vaulted windows and things like that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you want to go a little bit more detailed with it. Yeah. And Marley, oh yeah, Marley, you used a ruler. That looks great. Or you have a really steady hand. That looks awesome. That really dark. I like the blue, the dark blue against the lighter purple. That works as well, because I was trying to go darker in the foreground and you kind of switched it. So that works great. Anya, oh, went like almost cubist, really strong geometric lines. That looks great. Yeah. There's must be two people painting at once. Yeah. Oh yeah, there you are. Hello. Somebody hiding around the corner. Yeah, it looks good. Amber. Oh, nice. You did sort of more of a yellow skyline. That looks great. I'll have to try that next time. The yellow looks better. And Christina. Oh, yeah, nice. Nice blend. Really smooth transition up in the sky, especially. That looks awesome. And Jim. Oh, yeah. Is that watercolor? That's some intense watercolor. Nicely done. And you went lighter in the foreground too. You went sort of yellow in the foreground. I like that. The dark river against the light foreground is working. You did it as well, Christina. And Christina's sidekick. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yours is more airy and kind of, nice Mediterranean look to it. It's more brightly lit. Yeah, awesome. Let's see who else we got. Monica. Oh, you went sort of more of like a pinkish purple. I mean, you can see the possibilities with all the color choices you make. The hardest part for me with this was deciding how to do the color scheme. And so, seeing some other people do it, I'm going, oh, maybe I'll do it lighter in the foreground and, less so in the back. Kim. Yeah. That sort of variation in the church worked out well in yours, sort of dark areas. And Sarah, another Sarah. Yep, that looks really nice. Yeah, sort of keeping the pattern simple. Looks good. So you can see how you could do this with really any scene. You can just sort of take it and just kind of break it down into its basic shapes. Yeah, Susan. You did a little bit more variety in the sky. There's sort of a nice transition, goes sort of red, yellow, slightly green, and then into the blue. That looks good. Sherry. Ooh. Looks a little stormy in Paris in yours. The sky looks a little wispier. Probably is right now. All right, nice. Cindy went much more vibrant with the purple in that foreground. That looks great. This is where you can really take advantage of some of the like look at the color wheel and sort of do a lot of complementary colors like yellows and purples and things like that. Lahoma. All right, that looks great. Lahoma and friend. Nice. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Nice dance and nice painting. Awesome. Peggy. All right, great. Yes, much more airy and light filled. You could have the moon up in the daylight, I suppose. That would work. Oh, you went for the Eiffel Tower. Nice. Very nice. The sky looks great with that yellow reddish. Donna, you guys went to town. Yeah, sort of the purple and the blue are kind of the same value, and that works too. It's just a little bit of a color shift. Awesome. And there's Lisa. Yeah, that looks good. Excellent. All right. Well, these look really good. I'm really encouraged because this was something that was a little different, and it looks like everybody got the idea about getting things down, and that looks really nice. Oh, you did a little portrait. Excellent. Good. Throwing in a portrait in front of the Eiffel Tower, no small feat for an hour-long painting. Jose. Yeah. Oh, much softer and more pastel-y in that one. That looks good. It's really nice. And Andrea. Oh, look at that sky. Sort of the pink bleeding into the red, bleeding into the orange, bleeding into the blue. Nice. All right. We got any more out there? Is that everybody? All right.
I think that's everybody.
Okay. Marley's raising her hand, Andrew, but maybe that's left over from, because I remember both those names.
I think.
All right. So next week we're going to do one, like
wait,
I said.
Hold on. We got
we
one
got
more.
One more. We don't want to leave one more hanging like that. KG. Ooh, nice.
Oh.
I like that blue of the water. That's a really, oh yeah. And then there's Juju. Oh, nice.
Some last minute additions.
Everybody else is getting their courage late.
Yeah.
Like, I can do it. I'll show it. Very nice. Ron Lynn, yeah, really vibrant colors. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do a similar thing next week, more animal-based, with keeping up the idea of traveling, sort of go to Kenya or, I don't know, Botswana or somewhere, go on safari and do something that was that's moving ourselves around the globe. So I hope to see you all next week. Thank you all. Happy New Year. Glad to have you back, and have a great week. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Take care.